Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast with the headlines of the day from our correspondents around the world. I'm Tianlu. Coming up in this edition. US President Donald Trump has marked his 100th day since returning to the White House. China's Shenzhou 19 crew has returned to Earth after a 6-month mission on the country's space station. And foreign ministers of the BRICS nations have voiced opposition to trade protectionism as they wrap up a meeting in Brazil. We begin in North America. US President Donald Trump has boasted what he called a series of major economic wins at a Michigan rally marking the first 100 days in office. But figures from a non-profit business organization show the opposite. The conference board said its index measuring American confidence in the economy slumped for a 5th straight month to the lowest level since May 2020. Trump said he has signed an executive order to ease car tariffs. Nathan King has more.
Donald Trump is celebrating his 100th day in his second presidency by being just outside Michigan, talking to auto workers. So these are about car tariffs. Car makers who import cars here to the US, subject to 25% tariff, will now be exempt from steel and aluminum tariffs. We still have the 10% global tariffs. We have the 25% on autos. We have the 10% on aluminum, 25% on steel, and then of course those Liberation Day tariffs, which went up to almost 100% in some cases, are on pause for 90 days. Now the administration says it's close to making deals with countries like India, Japan, Republic of Korea, South Korea. They've even mentioned the UK, none of whom say that they are near to be inking a deal. So we're waiting to see what happens. And of course, the big one is China, tariff 145%, sometimes 245%. Now, Donald Trump has repeatedly said they're near a deal, that he's spoken to Chinese officials. That doesn't seem to be true. And Scott Bessent, when interviewed US Treasury Secretary, said, I'll hope they'll call, meaning China. Now, on other things, we have, of course, foreign policy. Ukraine war was not solved in a day, still goes on. Gaza ceasefire looked hopeful. That has now collapsed. And the surprise, really, for a lot of foreign policy watchers was Donald Trump's designs, militarily or not, on Greenland, Panama, and, of course, the 51st state he wants, as he calls it, Canada. The latest polling, this is a popular issue for Donald Trump, his numbers are sinking. It's been a fast and furious 100 days. He will say promises kept, but a lot of people very surprised by the speed and intensity of his second presidency.
That was Nathan King outside the White House. Other than tariffs and economic issues, immigration and foreign policy issues have also dominated the month since Donald Trump began his second presidential term. His administration wasted no time in trying to change Washington's relations with the rest of the world. Jim Spellman looks back on the U.S. foreign policies.
Donald Trump came into office making big promises.
I will end the war in Ukraine. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East.
But those promises have largely failed to materialize. Talks with Iran on a new nuclear deal are underway, but no agreement has been reached. A ceasefire in Gaza has expired and fighting has resumed. In February, Trump shocked many, proposing a U.S. takeover of Gaza.
I do see a long-term ownership position. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East.
The proposal was widely panned, and the U.S. seems to have pulled back from a prominent role in peace talks. On Ukraine, Trump made one of his boldest promises even before he was elected president.
I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours.
But 100 days into his term, the fighting continues, as do U.S.-led negotiations, including direct efforts by Trump.
I don't like that it takes long at all. But I think they both want to make peace. I do believe so.
Eleanor Clift is a longtime Washington journalist and columnist for the Daily Beast.
He said he could even solve those problems before taking office, that it would be so easy, that just the force of his personality, he would just talk to these leaders. He's discovered how difficult it is, and he's frustrated. He doesn't like things that take a long time.
Trump has signed executive orders aimed at pulling back from multilateral institutions, withdrawing from the World Health Organization, the UN Human Rights Council, and the Paris Climate Agreement. His administration has essentially dismantled the U.S. Agency for International Development, and the State Department has announced plans to scale back U.S. diplomatic efforts.
It's a ostrich in the sand approach to foreign policy. There's a real ongoing cost for what he's doing in terms of our credibility, and there's an opportunity cost for the future that we're also losing because we're ceding power to other countries.
But while pulling back in some ways, Trump has also laid out seemingly outlandish proposals to expand U.S. reach, declaring he will reclaim control of the Panama Canal, take over Greenland, and even make Canada the 51st U.S. state. Despite the seeming contradictions, Clift sees one thing tying together U.S. foreign policy under Donald Trump.
Everything revolves around him. He views the country the way he did the Trump company. He wants everybody to come to the table. Everything can be made a deal over.
The White House expects a peace deal in Ukraine soon and predicts progress with Gaza and Iran in the coming weeks. While President Trump has spent significant time and energy on foreign policy in the first 100 days of his second term, concrete results remain elusive.
That was James Bellman reporting. In Europe, leaders from more than 20 countries have gathered in Warsaw to mark the 10th anniversary of the Three Seas initiative that aims to boost economic integration and connectivity. A joint declaration said member states remain committed to market-oriented reforms, democratic principles, and integration across the Baltic, Black, and Adriatic seas. It is also opening new doors to China. Greece has found itself at the center for new opportunities. Evangelos Ipsos reports.
The Three Seas initiative started as a way better to link Europe's north, south, and east, but now it's turning into a lot more. A key piece in the global trade puzzle, especially with China's Belt and Road Initiative looking for faster routes into Europe. Ports like Piraeus and Alexandroupoli are more than local hubs now. They're fast becoming the front doors for Chinese goods heading into Central and Eastern Europe.
Greece is a hub, and Greece is a very well-connected hub and very well positioned on the BRI initiative. Therefore, the role of Greece, it is really important, and it needs to be seen as a green field of developing, of accelerating road transportation and rail transportation in order to support the Three Seas initiative.
More than 140 projects are now on the move: highways, railways, and energy grids, all designed to move goods faster, cheaper, and smarter. And the stakes are getting bigger. Polish President Andrzej Duda says the Three Seas region now counts for 120 million people and could grow its economy by 35% by 2030. It's a turning point, and Greece is right in the middle of it.
It's a rare moment that Greece formally joined the initiative, around 7 or 8 years after its launch. Greece's ports, China's Belt and Road Initiative, and Europe's drive for deeper integration are all coming together. A win for everybody if we get it right.
And it's not just about trade. Better energy links and faster digital networks are part of the bigger plan, too.
I don't think that it is only a strategic development to use to involve Greece in the Three Seas. It is a must, because without Greece, the transportation chain and the supply chain is getting uneconomical.
According to analysts, Greece isn't just a key player anymore. It's the bridge that connects Europe and China, a more faster and smarter trade network. However, they also warned that the most difficult part now is creating these big plans into real connections.
Connectivity today requires modern, stable investments in transport, energy, and digital links. That's the real challenge and the real opportunity.
The bottom line, the Three Seas initiative isn't just linking countries anymore. It's redrawing the map of global trade.
That was a report on Greece at the crossroads of regional and intercontinental connectivity. Moving to Asia, Pakistan's military is accusing the Indian army of orchestrating terror attacks. A military spokesperson has identified an individual suspected of operating under Indian supervision to carry out the attacks. Tensions have been boiling between the neighbors since the killing of 26 tourists in Indian-controlled Kashmir last week. India blames Pakistan, but Islamabad denied all accusations and urged an independent investigation. Meanwhile, Pakistan said it has intelligence that India will launch a military strike. Daniel Kant reports from Pakistani side of the border.
I'm at the border region along the line of control between Pakistan and India, specifically from Chakoti, the last town before the frontier. This is Muzaffarabad-Srinagar Road, where the Army's forward checkpost lies approximately 5 kilometers ahead. The area is heavily restricted, with media access strictly prohibited. Despite heightened tensions, activity along the road appears largely normal. Shops are open, markets are functioning. However, residents tell us that due to recent unprovoked shelling by Indian forces across the line of control, many civilians have been relocated to safer areas. Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif has confirmed that the military has reinforced its positions in anticipation of what he described as an imminent threat. He emphasized that strategic decisions have already been made in response to the evolving situation. Asif has also said that Pakistan remains on high alert and made it clear that the country's nuclear arsenal would only be considered if there is a, quote, direct threat to Pakistan's existence.
A government source said Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given military chiefs the freedom to decide the country's response to the attack in the tourist region. China has declared its Shenzhou 19 mission a success with the safe return of all 3 astronauts from the Tiangong Space Station. The capsule landed in northern China on Wednesday afternoon. Astronauts Cai Shuzhe, Song Lingdong and Wang Haoze are in good health. Commander Cai Shuzhe said he enjoyed working with his 2 young partners.
For numerous times in the space, we look back at this blue planet, which is our common homeland for men. We must protect it together, especially in the space station. We could see the stark red color, which is the brightest color in the space. We are so proud of our nation. And for this mission, I took 2 technonauts born in the 1990s. We worked as one to complete the tasks given to us by our motherland and the people. And in the future, we will continue such great efforts so that in this new era, China's space undertaking will have a new chapter.
The crew completed several spacewalks and experimented with fruit flies in orbit. Sun Ye has the story from the return site in Inner Mongolia.
The whole crowd is here chanting, "Welcome back home." They've also brought cakes. They've also brought fragrant sachets, those little bags that are fragrant, that's traditionally expressive of love and care and best wishes. For the last 6 months, it's been very busy for the Shenzhou 19 crew. They had 3 spacewalks. They had over 80 science projects and technological experiments carried out. They've just welcomed in the Shenzhou 20 crew last week. The 3 are in very good condition. The 3 people are in high spirits. They will be shuttled back to Beijing, where they will begin a period of recuperation.
That was Sun Ye reporting. Finally, in South America, foreign ministers and representatives from BRICS countries and partners have backed a statement by Chair Brazil against trade protectionism. All 20 countries participating in the meeting in Rio de Janeiro spoke about their concerns for unilateral measures inconsistent with world trade rules. Lucretia Franco reports from Rio.
Failing to issue a promised declaration on the second day of the BRICS Foreign Ministers gathering, the meeting's chair, Brazil's Mauro Vieira, said there was consensus on a number of issues, including a strong denunciation of unilateral trade protectionism.
It's not in Brazil's or BRICS partners' interest to live in a fractured world. We must strengthen multilateralism and cooperation to address today's challenges. Our presidency motto reflects this: enhancing global South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance.
A group photo captured an historic moment, 11 full BRICS members and the 9 new partners, a rising diplomatic and economic force representing half the world's population and nearly 40% of the global GDP. Amid mounting geopolitical tensions and trade disputes, Brazil called for a more inclusive multilateral system that amplifies the voices of emerging economies in the global south to achieve peace.
We discussed BRICS' role in promoting peace, resolving conflicts through dialogue, and tackling global crises.
The ministerial meeting lays the groundwork for the BRICS Leaders Summit in July, also to take place in Rio de Janeiro. According to Minister Vieira, the final declaration will be hammered out between now and July, at which point it will be released by the heads of state.
That was Lucrecia Franco on the BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting. Recapping today's headlines. US President Donald Trump has marked his 100th day since returning to the White House. China's Shenzhou 19 crew has returned to Earth after a 6-month mission on the country's space station. And foreign ministers of the BRICS nations have voiced opposition to trade protectionism as they wrap up a meeting in Brazil. That's it for this edition of The Top Story, a podcast that brings you world headlines every weekday. For more news in politics, business, sports and culture, you can subscribe to the Beijing Hour, a 1-hour podcast news magazine program. We welcome and appreciate all ratings and reviews. I'm Tianlu. Thank you for listening.